Try stuff and pick carefully what you try. Just keep doing the thing. As we see the outcomes, start ruthlessly editing the methods, and then just keep trying again. Try in different environments and different applications. Keep adding things, keep removing things, and apply to as many situations as possible. I don't know if that will make you a master, but you'll definitely get better at that thing. It's kind of ironic to me that all systems of productivity design for programs seems to boil down to becoming ruthlessly efficient productivity machine. That's why every book in productivity hack is about efficiency. Learn faster, deep work, form atomic habits. But to me, I think this efficiency part pretty clearly comes from personalization and repetition. It comes from trying to make something your own over and over and over again. And this is where we come across our own emotional and personal life with the actual act. How can that be possible without some form of self-understanding? Without it, what does it mean to even master anything? And for such a self-understanding to arise, I think for me, the right questions always have to be asked. Why do I want this thing? Who gave me this desire? Do I really want it? Am I willing to feel pain for it sometimes? What is the end goal? Is there an end goal? These are the type of questions that kind of pop into my mind when I want to get good at something. That being said though, if my reasoning is I like it and it's fun, I think that is more than enough reason to try. There is a reason to iterate. It unlocks other doors for me and I don't mind failing. I'm scared of this thing. Both of those are also very personally motivating to me as well. Ultimately, mastery does, I think, come down to picking things that you could fail consistently in and reflect upon without losing hope. That being said though, even the idea of what we call mastery is truly misleading, I think. I don't know if I've actually ever met a good master that actually believes he or she mastered something. I think that's not the point. Instead, I do think it's more helpful to look at other people's practice and way of living to see what I can learn from, rather than actually just trying to become a master at something. Trying to always get good at something is a huge mistake, I think. A mistake that I always make. Doing something only because you're good at it is also a huge mistake, I think. Funnily enough, both of those things are very similar to me. When I aim to get good at something, I eventually find that my mind tries to avoid failures. It classifies something ineffective according to my goals as effective. Vice versa is also true. Sometimes if I'm only looking for failures, I'm always trying to improve, then even if I did do the act effectively, I can't see it accurately. Similarly, if I'm only ever doing things that I'm good at, I personally get a very shallow representation of the thing that I'm trying to improve on. The ability to adapt, think, and learn. When I think about a master, I think those are pretty important attributes. If I'm avoiding failures, then I could narrowly define a skill until I'm good at it. I am the best at typing with my toes when I'm eating chum bucket. Yeah, sure buddy, I guess you could also call yourself a master there too, huh? I'm wearing plankton clothes, so. The act of always trying to improve relentlessly, I think it's too restless and I think it misses the point of just being. This means that every single project that I ever try always feels incomplete. Nothing will ever feel enough. I could have written this longer. I could have spoken it in this manner. I could have edited this longer. I could have focused more. There are times when I watch the same videos I've made over and over and over again, the same dance videos, like hundreds of times. Why do I do that? Is it actually making me better? Supposedly in my head, I think it's to judge myself and to make myself better in the future. That being said though, it doesn't make it better. It actually makes me more reluctant to try new stuff. I become disenchanted and scared of failing, quite frankly. How can I master anything if I'm not okay with failing? Most of the time. I can't. I don't think I can. How can I try stuff if I'm scared of failing? I can't. How can I know what I want if I don't try stuff and fail? I can't. How can I know if I'm good enough at a skill if I'm always looking for ways to improve? I can't. And I think this is why self-improvement could actually be a trap in the process of mastery. Instead, just trying something for the sake of it gets us there faster. Motivation to improve is kind of like adding gas to a fire. It might light it up brighter for a bit, but it's not stable. It fizzles out. Instead, we must be like the wood that constantly keeps the fire going and have stability. This stability, in my experience, has never come from drive, motivation, or discipline. It actually comes from play and joy. As a byproduct of play and joy, I think that leads to drive and discipline and motivation. And we often think that ambition and routines are the key to success when we look at other people. I think that the byproduct and consequence of wanting the thing that's right for you, we're always governed by that desire first. It's not to say that self-discipline and motivation and improvement does not matter. In my favorite activities though, those are always the byproduct and not the thing in itself. Then we come back to the same problem. How do we know what we want? How do I know? How is it that I know what I want? There's some general qualities that even if you don't know the specific thing of, that could always work for all of us. The ability to concentrate, the ability to reflect, the ability to adapt, the ability to problem solve, the ability to relate to others, the ability to love, the ability to recover from failures, the ability of patience, courage, etc. These are things that can be worked on regardless of the act that you're doing. It can come from calligraphy, sharing our art. It can come from coding and from writing. It can come from sharing our work with our manager. It can come from a simple act of just talking and walking. It can literally be practiced in any act. In fact, that often reminds me of this famous African proverb that I heard. If you could speak, then you could sing. If you can walk, then you can dance. I think the idea here is that every goal is an opportunity to practice what you want. And if we don't know what we want, figuring out is the practice in and of itself. And it's equally as valuable as mastering something great. So to me, even if I'm kind of lost in life at that point, just fostering situations, whether it's like a plan with friends or a simple game where we can understand ourselves by being able to concentrate, reflect, fail, recover, empathize, that act alone is enough of a mastery for me. The cycle of awareness never stops. So even something simple as walking, if you could reflect why we are doing it, and what's our intention, what's our mindset during that time, is it joy, is it fun, is it concentration, is it bigger? I think those are all great reasons to iterate. You know, in your 20s, you sometimes see some of your friends starting companies, getting married. Some people are developing ridiculous skills and traveling. Meanwhile, some of us are struggling to float. I remember seeing this one meme. Bro said, I just had to go to this medical clinic again this week. And the other one, the narrator says, oh, bro, tell me about it. Being 27 sucks. It's always back pain all the time. And the first bro says, oh, bro, I was talking about my medical residency, not my back pain. That kind of feeling is hella ass. I feel it all the time these days. And I do think it's a very common but false view. The feeling of being behind and the feeling of being in the bottom of the hierarchy. You never have to be in the bottom in any real sense like that. Especially when you see the mindset that I'm talking about earlier. No matter how high status some people seem, they're faced with the exact same problem. We have all met doctors who lack concentration and focus in their work. They don't have the love for their craft. We've all seen high, strong, rich people that are ignorant with zero ability to reflect and to relate to others. We've all seen people blow up in fame and then crash down without ever being heard again, without ever being able to recover again. In all these cases, despite their statuses, it shows that the similar issues plague all our minds. And this is not to say that we shouldn't aim for status. I think that could be fine. I also think true status comes from the byproduct of everything else that I talked about here. It comes from play and it comes from joy and just trying stuff. Most people that aim high for their craft definitely have this as a feature without realizing it. They might say they're working hard, but they're really enjoying the act. And if there was no enjoyment, I think they're bound to crash and burn. And some people do. But the people that have that in order, I think never suffer from that. They can work endlessly and they live life in a very peaceful manner. They're still high in their craft, maybe not as high, I don't know. They're free from its effects. So then I have to ask again, what does it actually mean to be a master? What does mastery over anything actually mean? Is it an end goal? It doesn't seem like it. Is it to become the best? So does that mean I lose my status the moment I lose once? Is it age? What really is the difference between a master and a normal person? I'm sure many of you have heard this story by now. It's a story about Diogenes and Alexander the Great. I view them both as equal masters to the extent that exists. Diogenes was a purposefully homeless man that walked around Rome with an empty bowl and with no clothing. He's considered one of the most famous cynic of all time. Alexander the Great was obviously a very famous conqueror and widely considered one of the most powerful emperors in the history of the world. This ancient Greece story goes, Alexander the Great once meets Diogenes in his homeless pipe. Having heard of all his famous acts of weirdness, Alexander then offers him his greatest wishes. Name anything. Diogenes then tells the great emperor, the great conqueror, that he is blocking his sunlight and he should get out of his way. Alexander then supposedly laughs and as he's walking away says, if I wasn't who I am now, then I would want to be like Diogenes. This story might not even be true, but the idea here is that one seemingly has everything while the other has no wish for anything. They both mastered something. I think the idea here is that there really is not a true master. Rather, it's a title given by society. More so, there truly is no end goal. Both of these two people died and perished in their graves. Life still goes on either way. And a lot of our drive for mastery comes from these status games that we want to play. It comes from being hated, being at the bottom of the hierarchy, being chosen last, not getting the Bugatti, not getting the hot wife. It comes from the lack of ever feeling enough. And some of us don't even make it that far, and so we don't even try. And this still reflects the feeling of being exposed and vulnerable in the hierarchy. What if we completely abandon the idea of improving in the status game? What if we abandon the idea of getting good at anything? This will automatically remove us from the fear of rejection and failure, which seems to constantly pervade most of us anyway. I'd argue that though Alexander and Diogenes don't care about these methods, they kind of seem to operate in that way, and it's kind of the moral lesson of the story. Despite what everyone sees them as, they aren't really masters of anything. Alexander will be forgotten over time, and so will Diogenes. What matters is their lived experience and the impact that they've rippled across their life. And so for this reason, I think internal state of mind is everything when it comes to mastery. When was the last time that you met someone that has mastered anything? For me, it was one of my friends who's an incredible artist. She could pretty much draw from every medium, from pure memory. She could use digital mediums, paint, pencil, knit, whatever, and just good at everything in her craft. Yet when I ask her how she feels about it, she seems quite embarrassed and not happy with it ever. There's no satisfaction in her art. A lot of insecurity about it, which I think is a very common theme for most people. She does not feel good at it and she thinks it's always behind in it. Yet on the other end of the spectrum, I've met people who are fully ass and have the most amount of confidence in their work. They think they're like Picasso reincarnated. They are not. These people are the same boat to me in some sense, deluded. Instead, I think the person that meets themselves where they are, they have figured something out, truly. I don't mean delusional, I'm good at everything, or delusional, I'm not good at anything. They don't operate in those terms at all. I feel this way about a retired ballet dancer that I met once. She's really still quite good in my eyes. Not perfect and maybe not as precise as she was before, yet very good in my eyes. When I ask her how she feels about her dance, her answer is actually quite beautiful to me. She told me that she's just happy to be doing just what she does. She knows her jumps are not as high as it was, but it doesn't matter. Forms are not nearly as in line as before, but it doesn't matter. She still feels quite satisfied in just being able to move her body, whether it's an inch or across the room. There isn't any harsh judgment when mistakes are being made, just a gentle letting go. It's clear that when she dances, most of her steps feel like they radiate joy. They radiate a sense of presence and play. She's truly alive in her craft, whether or not she's in the top of the hierarchy or in the bottom, whether or not she's a beginner or a master. And I think someone that could accept that state of being and that state of mind is the only definition of a master that I could personally accept, if that exists.